Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we're reading CC Madhya 11:11, which is, I believe it's towards the end of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's conversation with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And it's very ecstatic. All right. Oh, we have it up. Does someone have the clicker? All right. And we'll do, you guys just repeat after me. Akararapi betavyam strinam vishayanam api yatahe manasha shobhas tata tasya kriterapi. Akararapi betavyam strinam vishayanam api yataher manasha shobhas tata tasya kriterapi. Akararapi betavyam strinam vishayanam api yataher manasha shobhas tata tasya kriterapi. Please chant. Akarapi betavyam strinam vishayanam api yataher shobhas tata tasya kriterapi. Akararapi betavyam shayanam api shobhas tata tasya kriterapi. Akarapi betavyam strinam vishayanam api Ashaya manasha shobhas tata tasya kriterapi akararapi betavyam yanam dishayanamapi yata her manasha shobhas tata tasya kriterapi akararapi betavyam Srinam Vishayanam api Yataher Manasha Shobhas Tata Tasya Kriterapi. All right, shall we do the word for word? Akarat, from bodily features. Api, even. Betavyam, to be feared. Strinam, of women. Vishayanam, of materialistic persons. Api, even. Yata, as. Ahe, from a serpent. Manasha, of the mind. Shobha, agitation. Tata, so. Tasya, of it. Akrite, from the appearance. Api, even. Translation. Just as one is immediately frightened upon seeing a live serpent, or even the form of a serpent, one endeavoring for self-realization should similarly fear a materialistic person and a woman. Indeed, he should not even glance at their bodily features. Purport. This is a quotation from Sri Caitanya Chandrodaya Nataka 824. So, since this one doesn't really have much as a purport, I was thinking we could read a little bit from the Nectar of Devotion. I was reading this morning, and by Krishna's mercy, ended up on a spot that directly discussed this a lot on the contents of this verse. So if we could pull up Nectar of Devotion, chapter 13, here on the screen. We can read a little bit from there. Yep. Okay. I'll start off reading and then we can go around. Rupa Goswami has stated that 5 kinds of devotional activities, namely residing in Mathura, worshipping the deity of the Lord, reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, serving a devotee, and chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, are so potent that a small attachment for any one of these 5 items can arouse devotional ecstasy even in a neophyte. Regarding worship of the form of the Lord or deity, Rupa Goswami has written the following verse. My dear friend, if you still have any desire to enjoy the company of your friends within this material world, then don't look upon the form of Krishna, who is standing on the bank of Keshigata, a bathing place in Vrindavan. He is known as Govinda, and his eyes are very enchanting. He is playing upon his flute, and on his head there is a peacock feather, and his whole body is illuminated by the moonlight in the sky. Does anyone want to continue?
The purport of this verse is that if someone becomes attached to the Srimurti or deity of Krishna by worshipping at home, then he will forget his relationships of so-called friendship, love, and society. Thus, it is duty of every householder to install deities of the Lord at home and to begin the process of worshipping along with all of his family members. This will save everyone from such unwanted activities as going to clubs, cinemas, and dancing parties, and smoking, drinking, etc. All such nonsense will be forgotten if one stresses the worship of the deities at home.
Rupa Goswami further writes, "My dear foolish friend, I think that you have already heard some of the specious Srimad Bhagavatam, which decries seeking the results of fruitive activities, economic development, and liberation. I think that now it is certain that gradually the verses of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam describing the pastimes of the Lord will enter your ears and go into your heart."
In the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said that unless one has the ability to throw out, just like the garbage, the fruitive results of the ritualistic ceremonies, economic development, and becoming one with the Supreme or salvation, one cannot understand Srimad Bhagavatam. The Bhagavatam deal exclusively with devotional service. Only one who studies Srimad Bhagavatam in the spirit of renunciation can understand the pastime of the Lord that are described in the 10th canto. In other words, one should not try to understand the topic of the 10th canto, such as the Rasa Lila love dance, unless he has spontaneous attraction for Srimad Bhagavatam. One must be situated in the pure devotional service before he can relish Srimad Bhagavatam as it is.
In the above two verses of Rupa Goswami, there are some metamorphical analogies that indirectly condemn the association of materialistic society, friendship, and love. People are generally attracted to society, friendship, and love, and they make elaborate arrangements and strong endeavors to develop these material contaminations. But to see the Sri Murtis of Radha and Krishna is to forget such endeavors for material association. Rupa Goswami composed his verse in such a way that he was seemingly praising the material association of friendship and love and was condemning the audience of Sri Murti or Govinda. This metamorphical analogy is metaphorical analogy is constructed in such a way that things that seem to be praised are condemned and things that are to be condemned are praised. The actual import of the verse is that one must see the form of Govinda if one at all wants to forget the nonsense of material friendship, love, and society.
And we'll read one more of these.
Srila Rupa Goswami has similarly described the transcendental nature of relishing topics that concern Krishna. A devotee once said, "It is very astonishing that since I have seen this personality of Godhead who is washed by tears of my eyes, there is shivering of my body, and he has made me a failure in executing my material duties. Since seeing him, I cannot remain silently at home. I wish to go out to him always." The purport of this statement is that as soon as one is fortunate enough to contact a pure devotee, one must be anxious immediately to hear about Krishna, to learn about Krishna, or in other words, to become fully Krishna conscious.
Let's read this last one.
Similarly, there is a statement about hearing and chanting the Maha Mantra. It is said that saints have been able to hear the vibrating strings of the veena in the hands of Narada, who is always singing the glories of Lord Krishna. Now this same sound vibration has entered my ears, and I am always feeling the presence of the Supreme Personality. Gradually, I am becoming bereft of all attachment for material enjoyment.
Thank you. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Om Agyana Tirmandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jaina Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Caitanya Mano Bishtam Shtapitam Jena Bhutale. Swayam Rupa Karamayam Dadati Shwa Padantikam. Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Parakamalam. Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha. Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam. Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Pahitam. Krishna Chaitanya Devam. Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita. Sri Vishakan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate. Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari. Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Vansha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhobhya Evacha. Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Sri Advaita Garadhar Srivasari. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, Nectar of Devotion in this chapter says it very nicely, that from where Lord Chaitanya says that we must fear, like we fear upon seeing a live serpent, we must fear seeing a materialistic person or woman if we're interested in self-realization. Prabhupada shares that by devotional service, we naturally develop less attraction for material things, which is a big breath of fresh air. And most wonderfully in this purport by Srila Prabhupada in Nectar of Devotion, he discusses seeing the Murti of the Lord. And so every day we're able to come here and engage with this wonderful association with Radha Kalachandji and engage in worshiping, engage in chanting the Maha Mantra before the Lord, engage in all kinds of services along with the other devotees in order to help to decrease that desire for material association. And so we're given a very, very nice process. And it's wonderful because in my personal experience, that's exactly what happened for me. I came here, this was the first place I entered the ashram just a year and a half ago, and all I had was the Maha Mantra, and then the first deity I came to see was Radha Kalachandji, and from there it's been constant bliss and ecstasy ever since, and it just gets better and better and better. And it shows how potent this process really is. I can feel it in my experience and in my consciousness, that just by coming before the deity every day and by chanting this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, that the desires for material things do indeed increase, and the consciousness does purify. And it's interesting as well that Lord Chaitanya says that we must stay away from the association of materialistic beings and women, when also it's preached that we must go out and spread the holy names. We must go right into the thick of materialistic association on Sankirtan and engage and try and share also with that mood of Lord Nityananda, to beg that people will take what we have to give. And it's my main service to go out and to share books and to meet with people and connect and try to cultivate. And I feel that even though I'm connecting with people who are in all different places of consciousness, all different forms of beings, all different walks of life, and very materialistic to very inimical to very devotional, that by engaging in Sankirtan, by having that desire and being engaged in this service of preaching Krishna consciousness, that we're protected. We can be, it's almost like we're in the temple room in front of the deities when we're out on Sankirtan, and even more intimate when we're sharing Srila Prabhupada's books, and the people of all different walks are able to receive them. The protection is there. And so the fear subsides. And I've felt in my personal experience that I feel the most protection when I'm out in the streets. There's the least fear. And my spiritual master has described it as immediate liberation. It's the moment we pick up books to go out and to share Krishna consciousness, that there's just this great feeling of release. And it's absolutely wonderful. And so I find it here as well, where Caitanya says that one endeavoring for self-realization should similarly feel a materialistic person and a woman. He should not even glance at their bodily features. And so I want to open up to more of a discussion on this topic, and hear how people have experienced, either in Sankirtan or engaging in devotional service, how you all have felt that fear subside, and that when we're connecting with materialistic people, or that sex desire for the opposite sex, how it dissipates when we're engaged in service. What have you all experienced in your time in Sankirtan? How devotional service transcends material desires?
Krishna Prabhu, I experience it with the chanting. Like, the more I chant, I feel like the more it's taking away the material attachments and bringing me closer to Krishna.
Yeah. Every day that we wake up and chant, it's taking layers and layers and layers of material desires off. I mean, to a degree that we can't even fathom. The holy name is so potent, and it's our greatest shelter, and we can bring it anywhere. We can't always be engaged in the service of the deity here in the temple, but we can always be engaged in chanting, whether it's out in the street in Harinam, or it's in Japa, or it's in Kirtan. It's constantly available to us.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for bringing up this topic. In this phase of my life, I'm not regular with in-book distribution. Used to a little bit before, but even now, I think the last time I distributed books was with the Mahotsava Prabhu. He showed us a little bit in a parking lot, and I did my first Saptarshi with him, and it was so ecstatic. And I still remember the two ladies that I was talking to, and they so appreciated the books, and sincerely we had a nice conversation, and genuine, no beating around the bush as to what these books are about. Yeah. And they appreciated it, and moments like this really stick in our mind and heart, and they rejuvenate our desire to go back to reading Srimad Bhagavatam and take shelter of the books. So that's very nice.
I like that last point. They re-enliven our desire to read the books. I find every time I give out a book, thinking, I need to be reading this more. I don't know every part of what I just gave. I need to know it even more. And it's so ecstatic because it gives this such a well-rounded mirror of where our devotional service is at. When we're out on the street, we're able to see, where is my consciousness? Because the moment we take the car out to go, there's always that feeling of, I don't want to do this. The mind is going to tell me every reason that I need to go back. But then we step on the block and we go, but then it's that beginning phase is pulling off so much of our own stuff that we're carrying. And then little by little by little, we're able to experience so much joy as the books go out, or maybe Krishna wants us to be purified and very little is happening, but no matter what, it's always just a perfect experience. Because even in the lowest points in book distribution, I find that I'm able to take shelter the most internally. I have to pray inwards to really see that it's not me. It's only by the mercy of Lord Nityananda, the 6 Goswamis, our acharyas, that any of these books can be distributed. It's a full meal. Book distribution really gives us that whole meal of devotional service, and it's always so enlivening. Yesterday we went out we've been going to the White Rock Lake, and we've been distributing in this one small parking lot, a very small parking lot where you wouldn't expect there to be a whole lot of people. But we went there, and oddly enough, we were able to distribute almost 50 books within a couple hours in this tiny place, because Krishna, when he desires it, he can turn on book distribution anywhere. I mean, it can be in a 7-Eleven parking lot on the side of a highway, and then 100 people show up and all of them want to read a Bhagavad Gita, or you can be in a tiny parking lot next to White Rock Lake, and then it just happens. But so many people think, well, we need to go to the zoo, or we need to go to this big festival, and we need to do it this way at this time, and it has to happen in all of these different arrangements. But we could walk out on the sidewalk outside of Radhakalachandji's, and 30 people could walk by and be ready. It's possible everywhere. I mean, it's so dynamic and so exciting, and it's such a wonderful way to spread what we're growing on every morning when we come here. We're just filling up our cups each day when we come to morning program, when we chant, when we engage in bhajan, and we're developing the highest thing in all of creation. This Krishna consciousness is the sweetest thing in existence, and so to share it is so pleasing to the Lord, and also just so much fun. I heard a quote recently from the Treasures of the Brihad Mridanga, a quote by Shiva Ramaswamy in there, that when we distribute books, what brings so much of that pleasure in the heart, like when you're distributing the Saptarishi and everyone is happy, everyone's just so excited when something goes out, is that Lord Caitanya and Lord Nityananda are embracing us in the heart, and that the Lord's pleasure potency is soaking through the heart. And it's amazing, because every time we feel a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And the more we go, there's waves of purification and bliss, and it's so wonderful. Any other experiences? Yes.
Hare Krishna. I used to distribute books like in 1990s. It was really ecstatic and former Soviet Union, and here and there in America too, mostly to clients, to friends. How is going now? Because people do less reading, they like to listen.
Mm-hmm.
And also they don't have cash. So like, what is the specifics right now? How to encourage people to read, and also like payments, like how you do it? Practical thing.
I hear that all the time. Every single day I meet people who say, oh, I'm more of a listener, I'm not much of a reader. and then people who say, oh, I'm sorry, I don't have cash. And so the books, what's nice about them, if someone's very adamant about I am only a listener, then we'll try to get a small book to them. Or everyone knows people who like to read or who have spiritual inclination to some degree. You know, grandma could be really interested in this and might read this, and so you can share with her. So we try to move it in those different directions, because regardless of if this person is going to read that book, their pipeline of wherever their trajectory is going to take them, that book could end up somewhere in the hands of who knows who down 5 years down the line, and then that could change a life. So it's we try to just word it in a way where they may be willing to even distribute the book. If they're not going to read it, if they're a listener, if they're adamant about it, at least, you know, you share it because you know someone who could really benefit. And then on the question of no cash, well, you know, we're techno monks. It's 2026 and everyone's got Cash App, Venmo, Apple Pay, Square, and so we make sure to utilize anything we can on these devices, because, you know, also in Nectar of Devotion, it states how we can utilize the material energy for Krishna's service. And these phones are full of all sorts of good ways that we can support people in not having cash.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, wonderful class. I like the terminology you're using, you know, we are filling our cup in the mornings and then Krishna can turn on anywhere, like the experience, right? For me, the experience is not going outside, but whenever birthdays happen, I try to distribute books through, like, you know, return gift or gifts for the kids come in, story books. They all love it so much, and the parents appreciate a lot.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there is so much, so many wonderful stories of Bhagavatam and around Bhagavatam also. Like, it's just, you just have to tap into it, and it's just like an ocean of mercy, I feel. So, I mean, that's my experience.
There's so many mediums of book distribution, because like that's an area that someone like myself could never reach. I could never distribute to the children through that medium, but each of us have a network that we can connect to the books in different ways. And even distributing to devotees is such a vital thing. We think we need to get it to the person on the street who's never heard of Bhagavad Gita, but there's so many devotees even who we need to increase each other's Krishna consciousness through the books. Devotee children who may just be one page, one chapter of this wonderful story away from just feeling incredibly enthused in their Krishna consciousness. And I'm glad you brought this up, because it's such a wonderful thing to preach in the street, but also to, in a completely different form, to be able to share Krishna consciousness with the devotees is an incredible medium. So thank you so much for that service.
Thank you, Prabhu.
My experience is not related to book distribution, but we are just talking about devotional service and how it's cleansing the heart and purifying the soul. For me, hearing Krishna Katha and philosophy has been just exceptional. Like, I can't imagine what it does to me. I feel like when I'm hearing, is nothing around me is existing. I'm not existing. It's just my ear and the nectar. That's all. I feel like I'm not part of this world. Nothing exists around me. And it has just been incredible. So I say that yes, the desire to enjoy and going after sense enjoyment exists, but as soon as the katha comes in the play, it's like, that's it. And I feel like I just want to be in this moment all the time. I can't exclude myself, otherwise I'll be gone.
It's amazing how many different avenues devotional service has. You know, how many different ways we can be enlivened, because not everyone has the nature to be a book distributor. And like for me, it's hard for me to really hear. I like to read the books and then I like to share, but to sit and hear a lecture, to sit and really hear kata, it's difficult for my nature. But it shows that each of us, we have completely different natures and are meant to engage in Krishna's service in so many different ways. Like for example, for Kirtan 50, my family came here, and they're very favorable. They're very mode of goodness. They're very open to Krishna consciousness and excited, but they don't understand the spiritual essence. They don't understand the culture, but they're happy to do service. They're happy to do active service for hours and hours and hours. And so people, even in that place, not understanding Krishna's philosophy, not understanding the morning program, they can come and receive immense benefit. They're able to serve prasadam and be with the devotees and receive association. And so everyone can do service. Everyone can be engaged. Everyone can enjoy the benefits of this incredible process. And by our unique nature and by our different activities in service, we can enliven one another and help each other to develop some taste for that particular field of it. It's something that we just share more and more and more and more. And there's that materialistic idea that, you know, one has to be the best at this and I can only do this. And there's this kind of, we try to exclude in the material world, but in Krishna consciousness, it's all inclusive. You know, if this person is succeeding here, then I must get their association so that I can grow in this service. And it's such a beautiful thing that we get to serve Krishna in our unique ways and associate with one another. It's so, so special. Any other points?
Whenever we are going to the book distribution, it's like people are speaking a different language and they are from a different culture and everything.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to reach out to them. But if somebody takes the book, we hand them some temple cards and read the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra to them. And while reciting, they are like very happy for the first time. And even we have a time when we are sharing garlands and taking their picture with the happy face. And well, that's a lot of good experience in book distribution. So, but we want to try to reach out to a lot more, but we can only depend on Krishna's mercy or Lord Gaura's mercy. So it's sometimes we are in a frustrating condition also. Because not many people want to show up or want to even talk or think about it. So, well, thank you.
Yeah, I
I
like the point about how, you know, we may not speak the same language. And so, because a lot of our community is coming, I mean, we're an international society. We're coming from so many different cultures. And then many of us are here in America, where people are very much accustomed to their culture. And so it's hard to connect with people from other cultures. I find when we learn, in that case, when we develop like a little spiel, instead of trying to make it an organic preaching, and instead of it just trying to be, you know, we're trying to connect with people, but if we develop like a little mantra, you know, here's what we say, this is what we say, then we move to the next thing, then we move to the next thing, or even trying to connect with people about their culture, that opens their heart a little bit. Because when we can touch them slightly, and then we can start pumping in the Krishna conscious knowledge a little bit more, then that allows us to let Krishna do the work. We do our tiny bit, put in our mantra to be able to get their attention, and then we share the knowledge. We let Krishna do the rest. I was distributing books I was in Germany and I was in Belgium earlier this year, and going all throughout that part of the world, and very few people, especially in Belgium, speak English, and very few people like Americans. And so they see this American and they hear me speak English, and immediately it's just, very low tolerance. But by connecting with their language, opening it up to a little bit of their culture, then people open the heart to what we have to give. But when we start sharing the Krishna consciousness, it pervades our cultural background. When we start sharing with them the mantra, and if we read a verse in Sanskrit, or we share the more transcendental knowledge of things, stuff that people can receive at the base level, it touches them at the soul. And I find a method I like and I've recently been using is to just really start explaining Krishna consciousness in a way that's way over people's heads. Like, just start using names and talking about things that go over people's heads, but somehow they're receiving it in the heart if they have the adhikar to catch it. And when we just start expressing our faith and expressing Krishna consciousness, I heard this from Bhakti Tirtha Swami. He said if they have the pious credits to receive it, they'll receive it, because they have the humility and they have the credits from previous lives to be able to hear Krishna consciousness. Then they'll take the books. And so if we develop a little mantra and then we just express our Krishna consciousness, people might take the books. But it's also, we have to get past that mental barrier, the social barrier of rejection, which is often the hardest part, because 90% of the time going out in the street, people are just going to say no. And we just get pummeled all day long. But then we get those few who are sincere, and that's the real learning curve of Sankirtan, is to be able to just take shelter and accept being rejected over and over and over again. And then once that softens, it gets much, much nicer. Any other points?
After a certain time, even they are not speaking the same language, they will just try to talk in English or ask some questions, short questions. So it's we just feel like Krishna is showing some mercy. Same people who doesn't know anything about Krishna will just start to try to take Krishna's name, but they don't know Krishna yet. And so we are trying to explain to them what is Krishna consciousness and those things. And once they are hearing it and taking it, they are saying it in a different asuddha way, or in that way they are saying. They are hearing for the first time, so they are saying not Krishna directly, but some different name.
Yeah.
And giving their own meaning and interpretation, and so and at the end we request them to please read the book or give any donation like that. So I feel we have met so many pious people, even though their samskaras are all totally different, they are in the totally materially engrossed, but hearing the name of Krishna for the first time or handing them the book, they are completely, they are like almost a transformed person. Like we are not connecting in the bodily level, or we are just connecting in the more of a transcendental plane.
Yeah.
With the same people.
Yeah, Krishna, when he sees our sincere desire, he sends those who are ready to receive. Like if our nature is more introverted and it's harder for us to go out, Krishna knows that, and he'll send those who are ready to receive. He might use some heavy hitters to purify us, but he'll send those who are ready to receive and who are ready to hear the name, and he'll give us the mercy in that way. And yeah, there's often times where we go out and we think that, how could I possibly distribute in this place? How will anyone possibly take books? But then it just happens. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I was resonating on the quote you mentioned from Bhaktivedanta Maharaj, that if they need to have pious credits to receive the books. So that has been my experience and my kids' experience also. I haven't personally done after I had my little ones. Before that, I used to do book distribution, and then I have facilitate them to give books. Sometimes when they get disappointed, I remember like they receiving the book is not in our control. It also teaches us that we are not in control of them. Krishna is control. If Krishna and Radharani wants to give them mercy, they receive the book. And if they don't receive the book, they're not giving them the mercy. So it has nothing to do with the person distributing the book. And it also teaches that it's not that we are in control. It's not in our thing, like to make someone take the book. That's been my realization. And another one was the first paragraph we were reading today from Nectar of Devotion says, the potency of 5 processes of devotional service. I've realized that it's been like 12, 13 years since I've been Krishna consciousness. But day to day, if I see my life, sometimes it's very discouraging. Oh, I'm not feeling anything, any of these symptoms. But if I look at the long curve, I feel like there's so much effect of Bhagavatam, of chanting, all these 5 processes of devotional service. Like when I look back 10 years before, 12 years before, the things I was attached to, now I'm not attached to those anymore. Like I didn't put any conscious effort to get detached to anything. I didn't have to force myself. It's just that naturally I started developing aversion. So I can vouch for this. I think after you stopped reading, I read the next few paragraphs where Rupa Goswami says that people may think this is an overestimation, that these things can happen in a person. But I think over time, when we look back how we were before and what this process has done to us, I can see that in myself, how this process naturally worked through without even forcing myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so potent. It's not an overestimation. And I like the point on the pious credits as well, because it's not my potency. We can be the most gregarious, the most charismatic, the most anything, but we're not more than Lord Krishna. When we allow ourselves to be a puppet and to open up and to just let it flow through us, he's kind of just pointing us like a flashlight to be able to, okay, that one. I want you to go to that one and get rejected. That'll purify your pride. Okay, that one needs a book, this. He just has a complete lineup for our purification and for these recipients to get the mercy. And yeah, I find when I'm thinking that, okay, I'm going to go distribute books, I'm like pinching the hose, I'm pinching the hose of the mercy. But the more that I let go and try to be humble, try to really follow the Shikshashtakam, 3rd verse in the Shikshashtakam of trying to be more humble than a blade of grass, lower than the straw in the street, that I do, a lot more books go out and I feel a lot better. Because when I'm going out and there's an analogy that we can't pull the green bananas. We have to find the ripe fruits. That when I'm just trying to yank on so many different green bananas and I'm going to get you to get a book and it just hurts and I lose a lot of energy. And it's there's more people aren't able to get Krishna's mercy and receive Srila Prabhupada's books. And so, we have to be open to share and open to be used as a vessel. Any other questions? Jaishnav. Just a stretch. Let's see. I could share a couple stories from my experience over the past year that have really given me faith in the power of book distribution and in the power of Krishna's protection on the streets. And there's one particular event that comes to my mind from when I was in New Orleans about a year ago. I was out in the French Quarter distributing books. We had just come from New Taliban, and there was a big group of devotees who went on Harinam, but I wanted to go and distribute books, so I went off alone in the French Quarter, which is a really bad idea. I didn't realize what the French Quarter necessarily was, but it's a very dangerous, sketchy part of America. And so I went out and was giving out books, and a lot of open people, a lot of rejections. But at the very, very end, I was coming down this street, and on this balcony there was this man standing here, and he was really sweet, middle-aged gentleman reading a book. And I walked up to him and kind of looked up on his balcony and handed him a Bhagavad Gita and started talking to him. And he was an Episcopalian Christian gentleman, just nice man. And he was interested in the Gita. And then all of a sudden this fella walks up behind us, and he kind of starts mumbling and yelling a little bit. And I could tell he was a homeless gentleman. And he walked down a little bit further, and he stopped, and he turned around and looked at me and started yelling over to us and saying, "Did you just say something to me? Did you just thinking that we had said something to bother him." And then he pulled out a knife and started walking over towards us. And then, and in my heart, in this moment, I have no idea what to do. I'm completely frozen. And then all of a sudden, he just turned around and walked away. And we're both standing here, and the man is shocked. And he tells me, in my 40 years of being here, I've never seen anything like that. And then he looks down at this book, and we look at each other, and we start to pray together. So here I am with this Episcopalian man, and we're holding the Bhagavad Gita. This wild occurrence just happened, and so we sit, we pray together, and then he takes a Bhagavad Gita, and he just was completely shaken, and I was shaken, and I didn't tell anyone about it for the rest of that journey. I kept it very close, but it showed me that when we're on book distribution, when we're engaged in Krishna's service, we are not affected by the material world. And if things do happen, everything is completely by Krishna's arrangement when we're out there. And this was such a faith-building moment to be threatened in that way, and then in just a blip of a second for someone to turn and go. And it was amazing. And then just a couple months ago, I was in Belgium, and I was distributing books at a train station. I was all alone. I'd come from Jagadish, and it was about 45 minutes away. And it's quite, if any of you have ever been to Jagadish, it's quite a haul to go from there to any of the nearby towns. It's far out in the countryside. And so I went to this town of Liège, a devotee drove me to the tiny train station, took a 45-minute train, got in there, and was distributing books. And at one point, someone came up to me, and I tried to give them a book. They weren't interested, but at the end, they gave me a hug. And then they walked away. And then the next person I talked to was so interested in the books, got a bunch of books, and I asked, can I take a picture of you with them? And I reached into my pocket to grab my phone, and my phone was gone. So that person who had come right before had taken my phone, which was all I had. I actually had lost my wallet in Berlin a few days before, and then all I had was a phone. Luckily, I still had a passport, but now I didn't have anything. I just had the books, and so I didn't have any way to get back, and I just had the books with me. And so I kept distributing, but having lost the phone, my only connection to anything in that moment, put me in this state of just full reliance. Okay, now all I have is book distribution. I have to completely rely on this. We're going to see what happens. And I didn't speak the language. The police, I'm basically an illegal immigrant in Belgium without an ID. And so there, I can't talk to them. But I went deeper into the book distribution, and I found that I distributed so many more books in this state, because now I feel like a stray puppy in this Belgian train station, and I felt like in this very soft internal place, but everyone was receptive, everyone was ready to take something, everyone was open. And then all of the books I had went out, and I had remembered the train to get back. That, okay, I think I remember, because I'd been out a couple days before, this one, I'm going to go on this one to get back. And I got on the train, and then at one point, the train manager walks up, asks for my ticket, and I explain her the story, and she tells me, well, in Belgium, if you don't have an ID, I have to call the police. So she calls the police, and then naturally I hid in the train bathroom for a couple stops to get to where I was going, and then I got out. And to get to Jagadish from this place, it's maybe like a 30-minute drive, and so many hour walk, and it's late evening, and I had no idea what to do. No phone, no devotees to call, no way to get back, and so I just sat there and started to pray. I'm standing on the side of the road, and the moment I closed my eyes, I hear, Hare Krishna, do you stay at Jagadish? Are you a brahmachari? And I'm just thinking, are you kidding? Yeah. And this lady drove up and said, oh, I'm driving there right now. Do you have a ride? And I'm, no. And so I got in, and she took me back to Jagadish. And so this was another experience that just showed me that when we're on book distribution, Krishna takes care of everything. Everything works out. And sometimes I find it's hard to see when I'm in the temple, when I'm on my day-to-day of sadhana and service in the temple and going through the purificatory process around all the other devotees. But when I'm out there and it's really on the verge and things are, when I'm really with the material energy, then I can see that Krishna is just right there, always protecting. And so, thank you all. Oh, yes.
So Nainanvita wants to share her experience, but she wants me to explain her experience in book distribution. So once we went for Harinam to distribute books, and we were giving out that on chanting Hare Krishna, it's a free book. They distribute with cookies. And it was a day nobody was ready to even just take a cookie or a book, so she was very disappointed. But then one man walked by, and he took the book, and he got Krishna's mercy not only to take the book, and he also gave a donation to her for Radha Kalachandji. So that made her very inspired and feel Krishna's mercy. That's what she wants to share.
That's amazing. While you're young, go out as much as you possibly can, because people, when they see young devotee children, they just melt. And so do as much book distribution as you possibly can. Thank you all so much. Hare Krishna. Caitanya Caritamrta ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.